Fantastic. Good evening. Welcome, everybody, to the first Piratas live stream on a Friday night since Whiskey Friday ended ages ago. Don't worry, that's something that we might bring back because I actually do have whiskey in my hand and it is Friday. So, possibilities are endless. And we've got the whole team here tonight, and I'm going to bring them up, introduce them one by one. Arishta, Ari, it's great to see you again and actually to be sharing the screen with you again. How have you been?
Oh, I've been cold, I've been good, I've been very busy. I'm glad I've got the day job back, even though it comes with its own terms and conditions. But glad to be able to say getting back on our feet again. It's been too long. I mean, I've missed you guys so much.
No, I've
We've been
also
so
missed you
busy,
guys.
all of us, though. Hey?
It's all my fault, and it's mostly, look, the DRSA stuff has been keeping me crazy busy, but more on that later. For our next guest, I've got Themba returning from the side of the road. Your resolution is super high for where you're sitting, mate.
Yeah, I was trying to get as much light and resolution as possible. How's it, guys?
You're looking good. You're sounding good.
Good. That's great.
Excellent. And then Tim, and then Floyd, whose lights sometimes come on, sometimes stay off. Floyd, great to see you again, Squire, and I see you've brought company.
Floyd Jr.
Yeah, when you're parenting and you're trying to do other stuff, it's not easy. So, hi everybody. Yeah, it's been a long time, but yeah, good to see you, everybody. Unfortunately, on my side of the world, there's no lights, and I'm dark. Yeah, I'm not like Themba and everybody there.
Well, I was about to say, just before we actually went live, Floyd's lights were pretty much all off and you couldn't see him at all. And I said, the top point of white privilege is the fact for me to blend in to the dark, I need to spend money on tactical face paint. Whereas Floyd can just do it naturally. You don't have that restriction.
Yeah.
And just hello to Kermit, hello to Bradley, hello to Pew Pew Nando, and hello to the other people in our comment section, which will hopefully fill up a little bit. I mean, we have been absent for a while, but maybe we can bring this back on a weekly basis. Who knows? Like, if everyone's keen, we have a lot to talk about. And Julie, hello, good to see you too. I have been a bit scarce. This tavern shooting business, folks. Obviously the problem, right? It's all the people with legally licensed firearms who are not going to taverns and shooting people. They're the reason it's happening somehow, according to Adrian Besson and all the other talking heads, right?
Yeah.
So, on that bombshell, I'm actually gonna do a rotating panel because I want to bring at the end of this particular conversation, this topic, I want to come back to the only bit of gun control research that I'm aware of that was ever done in South Africa that's actually properly done. And there's the Wit School of Governance report that was on bloody fire, and I'll discuss the finer points of it. I'm not going to go through all 178 pages of it with you. Ain't nobody got time for that. But there's enough good stuff in there really to make a good point. So I'm going to start with Themba, bring it to Arishna, and then Floyd, you're going to have a go at it. So Themba, tell us a bit like what's actually the story. What is going on with these tavern shootings, and why the fuck? Sorry for my French. Are we blaming it on guns again? I mean, I know the answer to that, but you tell me.
Well, as to why people are shooting each other, we can blame that squarely on the society's moral fiber. That people would even be willing, even if it's a paid hit, but to know that the people out there willing to take that money and go do something like this. All right. We can blame that on poverty to push people, because every time there's a crime, we rightfully say, okay, people are stealing because they're not getting, they don't have jobs, blah, 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 all right? And the other thing is we can also blame it on the failure by the state, firstly, to control illegal firearms. One. because it's very easy. It's low hanging fruit for them to turn around and say legal firearms end up in the wrong hands. But we know, I mean, for instance, the headman came out, scathingly saying that it was AKs that were used, and most likely not your Norinco type 56s, but your proper military grade full auto stuff that was used there. So how many people have collectors licenses to even have those? So that goes back to them not properly managing illegal firearms and managing the stupidly porous borders that we have that allow for these firearms to be brought in packs, as we saw videos going around, maize meal and art pieces and so on and so forth, and some just in door panels, and someone is getting paid $500 to look the other way while they're wearing a badge that they claim has to do with them protecting you and I, which we know they aren't. And we're not saying that all police are corrupt, but we are saying we have seen that. I mean, I don't want to go back to the old case of Prinsloo, which is the most known, but how many others go unnoticed and unprosecuted because no one has actually found out? So we need to look into those as well. And also the fact that when they do control firearms, you said now it's the fault of legal firearm owners not going there to defend people. But you have a law that says I cannot legally carry my firearm in such an establishment. So I can't go protect those people. Prior to this, I heard about a robbery at I think it's one of those hangout joints, Capellos or something at Southgate, where guys came in. It was very coordinated, put everyone down and took everyone's jewelry, money, cell phone, you name it. So no, they knew that, and we've said this for many years, that when you go into a no firearm allowed zone, you're offering yourself as a sitting duck to any potential attacker, be it a criminal who's there to attack you or an idiot who wants to come and massacre the people for no reason. So when you have a leadership, as we do now, of a party that stood against a government that said they could not have rights, and then they turn around and they say, okay, now that we've got rights, let's take away some of these rights. And I'm like, what the fuck were you guys in the bush and clap-hoying for, if you now turning around and becoming the same as the oppressors that you are fighting against, which is stupid.
Yeah, and please remind me if I don't talk about the AKs when it's my turn. I have something very important I want to mention about those AKs. But I don't want to take solid sense, Themba, and I think we're going to take what you've just said and I'm going to expand upon it in a bit. But Ari, as someone that's, you're kind of a recent convert to the dark side of gun ownership. Come to the dark side, we've got cookies and that sort of stuff. But your take on this whole business, what you've seen, what you've heard, in your circles, expand a bit about it and what you think about the stuff.
So personally, for me,
sorry.
No,
I was trying to understand who's this directed at.
No, it's directed at Ari. Yeah, no, I want her to have her chance, and then I'm going to come to Floyd.
All right.
For me, when I this whole tavern shooting thing, maybe it's a naive way of looking at things, or maybe I just don't know enough. But for me, it's all a business. The truth is, you'll never know why it started, how it started, what's the reason behind it. But when you look at how citizens look at it, it's like the platform Twitter. It's so easy to complain about things. You're not running short of those types of people or comments. Now, with this whole gun shooting, the tavern situation, for me, it's a business. Because like Gideon was saying earlier on, everything comes down to gun ownership. You've got the one side where Themba was mentioning now, the legal firearm holders are being asked, why aren't you protecting the people and the public and whatnot? Then you got The same people that are asking those questions going, oh, but firearms must not be in the hands of so and so. So, I mean, pick your side and stick to it. And then other conspiracy theories, people think it's black magic amongst African people. I don't know about that part. But people are like, this is witchcraft. This is absolute witchcraft that's taking place here. But I don't like how everything comes down to having a gun in your hand is a bad thing. Because it's not. If you have a professional chef knife that you bought, the one that they use on MasterChef Australia, and you cut your own finger with it, it's because you're dumb, because you never learn how to use it. It's because you didn't understand that's in your hand. You don't have enough knowledge. You don't understand it. Now, a chef, they've been through it. They've cut their fingers, chopped a few things off. But at that, there's a certain point where they're masters. They can look at something else and chop like they are fighting a competition of how to cut a carrot in 2 seconds or something. Practice, knowledge, education. So it's very easy to persuade public to go one way or the other. You just need to present a picture. And you don't need to say much. You just need to give a few words and then people run off with it. So this thing about taverns, you can't change why people go there, what they're doing there, whatever the case is. I mean, rich people and poor people and middle-class people, you're not going to find, and apologies if I'm going to be sounding like a person who's putting people in boxes. You're not going to find a rich person sitting in a tavern. That's not their level. In the same way, those people that are going to taverns and tribunes and all of that, they have little. And for me, they're making the most of whatever they've got. Now you're going to go in there and you're going to swipe out numbers of them and not think of anything. I can't sit and think, oh, it's just one of those things where it's someone had mental problems and they decided they're going to go and just lay out their issues on a tavern and shoot up. And then two shootings or two incidences so close to each other. For me, everything is a business. You want the gun laws to get shat on all over again. You bring up a reason to bring it up in news or in media. If a lion is sleeping, you need to take a stick and poke it. This is what's happening for me. That's my opinion.
Gideon, can I just come in right where she is with the business and stuff? All right.
Yes.
So I get a call. I mean, I'm in private security. So I get a call by this Chinese news network, and they asked me to accompany their reporter and cameraman to the scene after this whole thing happened. So we go there. The immediate community doesn't even want to talk to the media because no one knows who did what, and everyone is afraid of possible backlash if they are seen in the news and so forth, right? And a group of fairly young guys, probably late 20s, early 30s, come forth and they throw a theory. They say, look, we're not saying this is exactly what happened, but here's a possible theory that we want to throw at you. They say this is a relatively new informal settlement, right? Because that area is an informal settlement. I think a little part of it is the new so-called RDP houses. And they say to me, in this area, there's 2 taverns, right? And again, I'm saying they're not saying this is definitely what happened, but here's a possibility. And we've seen this in the taxi industry. So they're saying there's 2 taverns here. There is a possibility, little or however large possibility, that this is a fight between the 2 and these patrons are caught in between the whole thing. We've seen when taxi operators fight amongst each other. Innocent passengers, you know, get caught in the crossfire.
I was about to say that sounds ominously similar to an entirely separate industry's way of dealing with this type of turf war situation.
That's that. So it's possible. And as going back to some people might not understand what she means by witchcraft. Certain sects of the community, largely the black community, when it comes to such establishments, there's still a belief in a lot of people that human sacrifice is necessary for certain things to happen. So this is sometimes seen as one. I mean, when it's not just with the Shebeens. Not a couple of years ago, a church fell on people in Nigeria. All right, a large number of that crowd was South African, and people were saying that, you know, these charismatic church leaders, you know, are into black magic and so forth, and this is a possible human sacrifice, blah blah blah. One of the most famous, the two most famous establishments, similar to, you know, like your Shisanyama type establishments down in the coast in KZN, a wall fell on people, and that was also touted as a possible theory. So when people are hearing Ari saying that, please understand that she's talking about that bit of the community. Don't get confused as to what is she talking about. And I can sense a bit of reluctance in her voice in voicing it out, because, you know, unfortunately, we're still in a very young democracy. You don't want to be seen as, this Indian lady is saying this about black people. Okay, so
yeah, we're very sensitive still.
Nah, fuck it. I'm not sensitive to any shit. I want to say,
listen, I'm Zulu on the inside. I've been told, and I still get told, I'm very rural on the inside.
Irish, I don't give a shit about either side of the fence.
Yeah.
Ngiyabonga, Themba.
Right. Cool.
So like segueing to Floyd on this. So now what we've seen with these tavern shootings, right? The post event of them. Okay, so we've had the cat in the hat. What's his other name that people call him? The shithead in the hat and all these. I can't remember anymore. There's so many. Okay, like I've lost count. But we've seen people blame alcohol. Okay, it's alcohol's fault that there are tavern shootings. Like, okay, cool. That's the usual suspect. Then of course we've got the guns. Now we're blaming guns. Now we've got the third thing, and this one came out of complete fucking left field for me because I didn't expect it. Tattoos. People with tattoos are gangsters. How many sort of bizarre things are we attributing as causal factors in this equation of violence in South Africa? Because I'm gonna give my take on it in a bit. But Floyd, give us a bit of your wisdom on this, because I'm pretty sure you Themba, and Ari we're all on the same page. So sorry to the audience, you are getting an echo chamber because we're the only side that speaks sense. The rest can all footsec. Give me your take on it. Like, what's the vibe?
So what I think, and Kenny,
also, I'm interrupting you, Mareka. Tele must fall. Super chat. We're just gonna leave that up there. That's the show done. Good night. Sorry, Floyd. Carry on.
Yeah. So I personally believe that there is no policing. The intelligence is faulty. People are not doing their work. So for me here, there could be two things. There was an issue whereby there was a confrontation of the Soweto people with some copper thieves, cable thieves and all of that. So it could be now that those guys are now coming back to retaliate. And how are they retaliating? They're finding you in groups where you're partying and all of that, And none of those guys have a legal firearm. So, we need to understand that. So they are using illegal firearms to defend themselves. The army has not been called out. People have been struggling with There's been a Sutu group against the township people, that. And again, it could also be a tavern rival. The one tavern was attacked, the one was not attacked. It's like a taxi associations. They have a tendency of fighting for routes without even caring whether the passengers are affected or not. So it could be some stuff like that. But again, I still challenge the intelligence. I challenge the politics, the Minister of Police, the commissioners. Go out there one day. Don't go when it has happened. Go sit there before it happens. Dress as Floyd and sit in a tavern and hope not to get shot. And sit there at the back and just order your Zamalek. Just pretend. Just do something. Do your feasibility study and see this is what the people are going through. This is what's not happening. You don't know this. You've got the blue lights. You've never been in traffic. You've always, you're going to the bathroom, somebody's watching you. You're going to church. This thing, somebody's watching you. Your kids are being watched. One day, this thing is going to come to our doors. It's going to come to our churches. It's going to come to our children's schools. We've seen children being kidnapped at schools. What stops firing at parents? Stuff like this can happen. So I don't know. I'm getting bad feedback. I don't know where's it from.
Okay.
Probably from Themba.
Floyd, is it from me? Oh, sorry. Floyd, I want to avoid dialogue or seem as if I'm interjecting all the time, but you raised something here, but you are forgetting who we are as a people. We are reactionaries. There's nothing proactive about the bulk of South Africans. And here's where I'm coming from and going with this. In the past few days, I've done a lot of media interviews. There's one on the SABC News that I did at Tactical HQ, and we all agreed on one thing, that after the July unrest last year, people who didn't want firearms, people who sat and debated back and forth with us on social media everywhere, have suddenly converted overnight. And adding on to that, this week alone, I've had a couple of people in the intelligence community who've come to me and said, dude, where do I go to get my own personal firearm? And I'm not talking about low-ranking individuals. I'm talking about seriously high-ranking individuals in the intelligence community who've come to me and said, because they know me personally, and they've said to me, dude, things are not getting better. So when you have people at that level saying those things, what's the general public supposed to make of that? But that also shows you that all the time that, even with the kidnappings, I spoke to people, high-ranking officials in intelligence. I think it was around 2018. And I said, guys, there is a cell brewing. And this is where they are. And this is what looks like the MO is. And no one said or did anything about it. The same way that they've had to admit last year that they did get intelligence on time, but did not act. Because as I'm saying, it goes back to being reactionaries. No one is proactive about shit. And we've got a president that's sitting on the fence trying to please both sides. Gideon, you and I have said this many times, that the previous president might not have been one that everyone is proud of, but we are all happy that he's a guy who, stood by his convictions. When he felt something was wrong, he acted. He didn't wait for anybody's, he didn't take prisoners. If he felt someone needed to go and they had just come into the door like 2 minutes ago, he would send them out. You remember what happened with the story of the finance ministers. Was chop chop, just like that. He didn't wait for anyone's opinion, no advisors, nobody. He woke up and he said, this one is not going to work, he must go. Then decided, this one is also not going to work, he must go. So we've got one now that's, it reminds me of the old floppy disk, but I digress. So let me just let it go here.
No, that's 100%. And you actually managed to remind me with the pin in my ear that I wanted to talk about the AKs. So, on this whole anti-gun narrative that's now being attached to this tavern shootings, and I agree 100%. This is looking to me like a large part of the motive behind this is based upon the same as you see turf wars between taxi companies, even different gangs dealing drugs on the Cape Flats. There's a very rational explanation for this, but we're going to go do a dive into certain other things. Last week, there was an article in the Daily Maverick that quoted members of the South African State Security Agency and the intelligence community in general, talking about stuff that was done and looted, under the umbrella of the unrest in July last year. And apart from the 1 million rounds of ammo that was stolen from the container under police guard in Durban Harbour, which is mostly 9mm, if I recall correctly, which is still doesn't make it less concerning. There was also a container of AKs that was raided and looted that I wasn't aware of. 2 containers. Sorry, Tim, but 2 containers of AKs. Okay. Now, that stuff was apparently not meant to be offloaded in SA anyway, but it was raided, and there was a metric ton of the stuff that went missing. Then there are unconfirmed reports that managed to get to me from other sections of the intelligence community over the past few months. I haven't been able to confirm these things, but obviously I can't. I'm just a layperson. Okay, I'm an ordinary citizen. There's no way I can confirm it. But there were actual serious reports of ships offloading shipping containers of AKs near Richards Bay that originated from other African states. And we are not sure who took possession of those weapons and if they were being sent to Cabo Delgado in Mozambique as a way of getting it to the terrorist cells there via South Africa, or if they were actually taken possession of in South Africa itself for the purpose of being used here, amongst other things, CRT heists and the like. So regardless of how one cuts this, the reality is that apart from the struggle era arms caches, which were about 60 to 80 tons of arms that were brought in the 70s and 80s, we have a cross-border flow that was never taken care of, and we have a present flow of arms from elsewhere in the world coming in, military-grade stuff, that there doesn't seem to be any brakes on. So the whole issue with gun control is it's a fallacy. It controls nobody except the licensed, law-abiding citizen. And this is quickly where I'm going to do a dive. So when we look at the Wits report of that was published on, I'm sorry, I'm just going to share my screen, and I don't know if this is going to work, but it's actually, wait, hang on a second. Is this going to work? Please, may it? Okay, it's not working. It's fine. And Helga, thank you for a donation. I'm going to do the e-begging like all good YouTubers do in a moment. But before we get to that, so when we talk about actual conclusions, they studied the 15-year period between the year 2000 and the end of 2014 to see if the FCF 2000 had any meaningful effect on crime or violent rates. And in their words, the report finds that there's little evidence, and it is unlikely that the FCA caused any decline in the violent crime rates over the period in question. Furthermore, instead, the decline can be ascribed to the level of strong and sustained policing as a, and I'm quoting here, necessary condition for reducing firearm-related crime. The FCA was also found to be insufficient to reduce firearm-related crime in the absence of strong policing, and that only 5% of all crimes reported to the SAPS were even relevant to the FCA in the first place. And here's the kicker. In that whole report, there was one where they made recommendations where they, and I'm quoting directly from it, the authorities need to shift their misplaced unconditional faith in the ability of the FCA to solve crime to policing. Meaning, in short, that gun laws do, and pardon my French, this is not very professional, but I feel a strong word is necessary. Gun laws do absolutely fuck all to fight violent crime. How strong and competent your policing is makes a massive difference. And that is exactly where the focus should be, not on the statute books pertaining, okay, cool, we need to restrict firearm ownership a bit more because that doesn't work. Here's the other thing. South Africa is a violent country. Yes, there's a complete breakdown of the moral fiber, but apart from that, violence is cheap. Only 15% of all murders end in a successful conviction. Murder cases. Only 9% of all rapes end in a successful conviction. And when you talk about Creo crimes, not Creo crimes, jeepers, it's not that late on the Friday. Trio crimes, which is robbery at residential premises, robbery at business premises, and vehicle hijackings. Who wants to guess what the conviction rate for those three are? Close, Floyd, less than 3%. So, yeah. So we're sitting with serious violent crimes in South Africa that are just conviction rates don't exist for. We're sitting with gun laws that have proven through scientific study and analysis to be absolutely useless at stopping violent crime. And we're sitting with a police service that has been mismanaged since 2011, that we've had 11 years of every single year massive increases in violent crime, especially homicide, that hasn't been stemmed. And we're sitting with a police minister that are telling his critics to shut up, and he goes on about guns, tattoos, and alcohol. That's the only thing he talks about. No wonder we're in the shit.
Okay, here's the other thing. There's obviously the report was done outside of this these facts coming out, because later we also discovered that the budget for the police has been going down year on year. Crime has been going up year on year. You mentioned how cheap violence is. Let's also talk about the fact that not only do we have a broken down moral fiber with our own society, but we've got porous borders. We've got people from war-torn countries who are here fighting for survival, who are here unregistered. And I'm not going to, as typically attribute all crimes to them, but I'm just saying that also compacts the local crime issue. Because remember, when we talk about crime, we don't say robberies committed by South Africans, 5 out of 1,000. Robberies committed by people from such and such a country who are registered, and those who are not registered. And so when we talk about crime, we talk holistic numbers. But if you've been to any prison facility for whatever reason in the recent 5 years, and you see the growing number of non-South Africans as well, that shows you that we are importing crime as part of a skills shortage more than we're importing Cuban doctors, our favorite.
I was about to say, but you sound just like a Trump supporter, Themba. Like, you can't say things like that. That's racist. Do you hate Mexicans? Sorry, I just need to shoehorn that in there.
Let's build a wall. Let's build that wall.
Let's build the wall. But I mean, that's again, it's a very good point. It's something that unfortunately, and I'm going to go to Ari after this, is the fact that we're not addressing that out of some weird sort of cultural sensitivity. And here's the next part of this. So everyone goes, but we need to, make gun control tighter and, confiscate guns. And then you read Mark Shaw's book that I recommend everyone does. And it's not on my frigging bookcase up here. It's in my bookcase in the other room, and I can't get to it. So anyways, I can't show you it on screen, but it is. Here you go. So if you want the true take on what's going on, get this bloody book, because in it he details in extensive sort of in extensive details, trying to get it. My thesaurus isn't working. It's the whiskey. The rate at which policemen confiscate guns, corrupt policemen, sorry, not all of them, but the corrupt ones, confiscate guns off gangsters and criminals and just resell them, either back to the same ones or to new ones. And the Chris Prinsloo saga, being as scandalous as it is, that's the tip of the bloody iceberg, mate. I mean, that's not even covering, there's a whole industry that's politically connected and driven probably to significantly senior politicians who are profiting off this. that are selling guns back to criminals, and they're talking gun control. Are these people nuts?
The other problem that we have with regards, I mean, when we speak about the pre-democratic arms catches, we're always talking about like your what did we call them? The ex-combatants who went and got training outside of the country, and one way or the other found a way back into the country with those firearms. And we all talk about how the Nationalist Party and the NC came, to an understanding that, we can't sit around the table with you, you are armed, blah, 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 right? We neglect the fact that even the old government training third forces internally left a lot. I mean, I saw one of these viral videos from those areas in KZN where one of the guys is sitting with at least two, what do you call those? I think it's called a G4 rifle or something like that. And there's nowhere else that he could have gotten those. It's old stock from the old boys, So not everyone actually even thinks about this. We all think about what came from outside of the country through the so-called liberation movements, but there was also a lot of firearms that were given internally to third forces that were collaborating with the repressive regime that was in power in those days.
I think what people forget, and this is not actually hysterical, because looking at the rate of death, I mean, I'm sorry, if we are now comparing using Ukraine as a modern example of a high casualty war, the rate of people being killed from the mid 80s to the early 1990s, between the internal struggles, IFP versus ANC and all the other factions together, we were sitting with an actual medium intensity civil war in South Africa that no one was talking about and no one was recognizing as what it was. And it was completely out of control with all the guns and stuff going around. And I'm going to come with this question to Ari, is bearing all these things in mind, you as a woman in South Africa, knowing what your risk profile is, and at some point you made the decision that, you quite like this ability to be empowered by knowledge, skills, attitude, and also importantly, the correct equipment with which to protect yourself and your family. There is something in your mindset that changed in the way that you look at life through it. What, you see this onslaught on private firearm ownership happening all the time. What does that actually make you think and feel?
Whew, too many things. But I want to just say what Themba was talking about now. It's reminding me of a few words. What do you call this? Diversion. It's all it is. I mean, we have a simple solution, guys. We don't need to spend another 5 minutes on this. We can just end the video after this one. Guns are a problem. Legal firearm holders are a problem. Fine. All these groups that are lobbying behind this thing, let's give them what they want, and after that they'll have to close the organizations. They'll have nothing else to fight about. No, but the truth of it is, the thing that kind of snapped is, Themba was talking about July unrest earlier. That snapped. That was a moment that everything snapped for me, because there's that saying, when you're down to nothing, or something to that effect, when you're down to nothing, then you know who your true friends are. So in that similar sense, this country got as low as it could. I mean, it could always get lower, but in my day and age, in my lifetime of living, that's as low as I've ever seen us get. And when it came down to it, the people who live in this country had to have their own backs covered. That is why you guys were mentioning it earlier on. Themba was saying a lot of people after the July unrest came up to him and be like, how do I equip myself? The truth of it is, you have to cover yourself. Your neighbors and stuff, yeah, they can be there for you, but to a certain point. You have these structures in place. You have a government. You have a policing forum. You have these things. For me, at this point, it's just because it has to exist. You can't have a country that trusts the people to run by themselves. We are humans. We are all not responsible. We do need to be guided, and we do need rules and regulations and all of that. But the thing that really tipped me over to the other side fully was that, like right now, I'm sitting, we're having this conversation. My partner is next to me here watching a TV. Someone busts through that door. Who's going to be here to cover us, ourselves? Personally, for me, I'm always seen as the not misunderstood one, but like, okay, when we go out, everyone assumes he's the one with the weapon. He doesn't carry one, nor do I. I don't have my license and stuff yet. But when we used to go out with his brother, the brother was the one with the weapon. And that irritated me because he took it everywhere. I think it's new gun ownership disease or something. But everyone thought it was my partner with the gun. And they didn't even bother to look at me or to assume. So, and that is, I think, a strength that we women have, that it's always seen as the men are the ones who will have the family covered. You take out the main problem and then the rest are just collateral. And that's how I see this Tavern thing as well. That's how this whole July unrest, the citizens were the collateral. People can love me or hate me. I don't care about people's opinions on the next one. COVID, vaccinations, everyone has their opinions. This is mine. The world and its citizens were the collateral for the vaccine testing. It was vaccine testing. I don't believe that these things were tested and it was ready for public consumption. It was not. So,
and if our channel gets taken down, we can all blame Faye for it, because she just said the magic word.
Hey, it's my opinion. But the thing that's sad for me is when you come down to it, you got to cover your own ass. People love you, you love them back, you got to cover your own ass.
I want to say
that's the long and short of it.
Ari, I'm very happy about Novak Djokovic. I'm not even a tennis fan, but Novak came out scathing, and you know he's willing to throw away everything. He's put his proverbial neck on what do you call it?
On the line?
What do you call that thing? I don't. What is it called? Where
you
know
put your
he's ready
Johnson on the block.
Yeah.
You know.
And I wanna thank the two people that came, and I wanna correct one person. I saw another post. The last one. Let me start with the last one. He says black people were not allowed firearms during apartheid. That's partially correct. It was only up to a certain point, and then past a certain point, black people were somehow, you know, the laws were somehow relaxed. And I know this because my great-grandfather was a cop, the so-called blackjacks. He wasn't allowed a firearm. However, my uncle has been carrying a firearm since before democracy, which, you know, so that kind of tells me, I don't have the exact statistical facts on that, but I know that at a certain point towards the end of the apartheid era, black people were allowed to somewhat of an extent to carry firearms. And then there's a guy who corrected me and said it's a G3 rifle. Yes, you're correct. I remember now. And then another guy says he gave numbers, basically specific numbers. Now remember, I'm like the boots on the ground. So a lot of these things that I mentioned, I'm not reading them from media or from somewhere. It's things that I know personally because I was involved I was very active in the political sphere from a very early age. So when he says that there's a lot of arms in the not just the ANC but the mass democratic movements catch that were unaccounted for. That's correct. And then he also gave numbers with regards to the then government, your national key point firearms, because that's what they were given a term. Not all of them were national key point. I know some of them were taken from other countries, confiscated during the Bush War, for instance, and were redistributed among the third forces. So yeah, that was great. Thank you.
So on another note, Steve Floyd, question for you. You need to tell us a little bit about your speciality and background, because people may not know this, but Floyd has been, I think you've been one of the premier advocates for gun ownership in the township. You've been involved in training. You've got a lot of youngsters involved into the journey of becoming responsible firearm ownership, which is exactly what this country needs. And I mean, I think we've spoken about the Tavern thing to death, but the way forward, I mean, we're not going to let the narrative change anyone's minds. We're not. It certainly hasn't changed our minds, and we're not going to let this dominate the media space, which is exactly why we're here. So, Floyd, everyone really wants to hear from you. So,
okay,
just go for it.
Tell us your day job, Floyd, not the import-export business.
So I just wanna, before I forget, I just wanna touch on this. Before 1994, you remember the Shell House massacre? I can bet you now it was not all legal firearms which were used there, and the ANC themselves.
Oh no. Okay, I think Floyd's connection just dropped as he was. Okay, hopefully he's going to be back with us in a second. So I don't want to open up a whole new can of conversation until he rejoins. But just short things. That's awful. We'll blame Islam.
Yeah, I want to talk about you talking about the narrative. Here's the funny part, and I'm not sure if anyone has picked up the trend. And as someone who's fortunate enough to get calls from the media and so forth, the narrative is changing. Actually, if you you please post the link for that SABC interview that I did.
Please
I know you've got it.
Please send it to me again so I can post it. WhatsApp.
I did send it on the group.
Oh, okay.
On our group, on our WhatsApp group. Yeah, it's there. But I'll resend it anyway. Please, so what I wanted to say with regards to that is that is, hi Francois, that's probably one of the most positive coverages we've had, because they actually took our facts and they did not buy into the GFSA non-facts that we've debunked long ago. They even made mention of the vets research that we speak of. And then we've got I think the BBC also called. They want to talk to me as well, and it's all positive coverage. It's all positive coverage. I mean, by the time we left, both the people who were sent to do the interview, the journalist and the camera guy, they left there saying to Dylan, "We're coming back for our proficiency training." These things don't usually happen if you look at how the media always looked at us, because they always gave the other people. I mean, now I'm on Alex FM on Saturdays. That was GFSA's favorite playground. So they're no longer listening to those people. They're now coming to us. And I've never stood up to go call any media house. They're coming to us now, and they're looking for facts from us. They're not listening to the other side of the number line and asking them and their 6 cronies for non-facts anymore. It's not going that way. After July, people have started to wake up.
So that's great to hear, because and Floyd's back, so I'm going to let Floyd have the floor. But my only comment on this is, and don't take this up the wrong way, people, but it's important for people like me to not be the spokespeople. We need the Arishnas, the Thembas, and the Floyds, because traditionally there he drops again. Hopefully we'll get him back. But traditionally, and this has been the stick the anti-gun lobby has used for a very long time to smack us with, especially, and I will never forget that one tweet by Rebecca Davis, who writes for the Daily Maverick, that the pro-gun lobby are just a bunch of middle-aged white men. And that never ceases to annoy me and irritate me in how sanctimonious and wrong it is. And I love using, and this is narcissistic from my side, I love using what you guys are doing and saying as a stick to beat it back with and say, oh, I didn't know that Themba was a middle-aged white man. I better tell him. He's Afrikaans. You're not dressing in kort broek and khaki hemp genoeg daar, Themba, and you're also not rolling your R's like I are.
If I had enough white privilege, I mean, I wouldn't be sitting on the side of the road, and Floyd would not be losing coverage. All that white privilege would keep him connected with Dave. But unfortunately, here's the other thing. All four of us here, we probably have varying political views. And I've said this, I think, even in our last podcast, that you and I, for instance, are from two opposite poles. One of the easiest debates that you and I have always had is the debate of BEE. You hold a completely different view from mine. But when it comes to... Okay, guys, I might have to...
I think we're about to lose Themba. I think we
just did. We just did.
And Floyd has just sent me a WhatsApp. He's lost all data connectivity. He didn't send me a WhatsApp. He sent me an SMS. But I think the point of this is Themba and I do come from Themba's back.
Welcome back.
Political background. Sorry, my dog.
Hi guys, sorry, I had to take a call.
This entire stream is going for a ball of shit. Go for it, Themba.
I just want to close because I have to leave you guys now. So I want to say that we might be of varying, I mean, even religiously, I'm sure Arishna is, whatever because nowadays no one is what, it depends on what you identify as. So my clock identifies as a Bible. So we may be from varying parts of the communities, but we all stand on the same note on this one. And this is a good thing, that at least we have one political point that we share the same view on. And this should go to show broader society that we can disagree on a bulk of things. But if we agree on one thing, that we bleed red and we have a crime problem in this community, not a gun problem, then we'll go very far. Guys, I have to love and leave you. Double kisses to you, Ari. And thank you guys for tuning in. Not too many.
That wasn't for you, Gideon.
I didn't mean to kiss you at all. That was
none of us want that from you.
That was gross.
I'll catch you on the flip side, guys. I have to run.
Yeah, thanks, Themba. Go enjoy your free food.
I don't know why I did that. That was terrible. I saw you do it, and I just...
It's human reaction.
Out of pure reflex copy, it's like, I do not want to... Like, I like Themba. He's a good mate. I have a lot of respect for him, but I don't want to kiss him. So, on that note, Ari, and I think we were on the last...
I don't think we're going to get anyone else back, yeah.
No, we're not going to get anyone else back.
No.
But this is the thing. I think I really hate the word diversity because it's been perverted from what its original meaning is. But we are a naturally diverse group of people because we all believe in this one issue very strongly, but we're not the same. We come from very different backgrounds. We have very different outlooks on life. And that's all fine because we're cool with that. Do you have... I'm going to give you the final word on this thing. With 6 minutes to go, the floor's yours, and then I'm gonna let everyone get back to their Friday night because my dog is going nuts next to me. You might hear him in the background.
No, man, he's sweet. Look, agreed. We all share the same goal. We all have the same idea behind it, and this whole thing, I wish it's... Yes, Yuri, but I don't have my... No, I have a weapon, but I don't have my licenses and all that T's and C's yet. we have the same goal. We have, unfortunately, we have to go through a lot of different realities and truths before people understand the reality of a situation. Themba was talking earlier about people are now approaching him, as in media. They stopped going to the other side. The other side is where you can manipulate statistics. How do you get the statistics? You got to talk to the people who were there. You've got to get their you got to get the truth from them. Hello, doggy. And then, oh my God, is that a Bernard? No.
He's a boxer pit bull Staffy cross. He's wonderful.
Oh, God.
I really
He's beautiful.
He's beautiful, but he gives me no peace. I can't work from home because of him.
No,
it's
fine. Yeah, no, it's fine. He's cute. The thing is, I'll wrap up quick. What I was saying? Yeah. So the whole coming from different cultures thing, you have to. Unfortunately, it took a long while for people to get to where they are now. And the thing is, it's that saying of, money talks, bullshit walks. But you replace money with reality at this point in our lives as South Africa, because now people have seen when shit goes south, what really happens. I mean, for policemen to be hiding behind citizens and using them to protect them. The more embarrassing thing is when our police force have to salute at somebody's funeral, they're all going in different directions. It's stupid to pick on something so simple, but for me, it's in the details. If you can't get the simple things right, you cannot entrust the citizens of a country to now go and trust you that you know what you're doing. And as I think Themba who said before, you're rocking up to scenes after everything happened. When it was happening, it wasn't the police that was there. It was, and that is the blank that everyone's very interested in filling. So more of it needs to happen, and it's happening without everyone else's permission. That is what they hate. And I leave it there.
And that's a wonderful summary of it. And that actually brings me, you've given me a wonderful setup and platform foundation. Yes, Paulie, we are going to give you
What's baby's name?
His name's Paulie, and he now has a wire-haired terrier cross sister called Snowy, like from the Adventures of Tintin. And both of them are driving me crackers. Kermit, you need to ask me the pew question quickly, because I'm going shooting tomorrow. But if anybody wants me to just have a sit down with them tomorrow night and just shoot the breeze, I'm happy to do it as well. I don't know what time yet, but I'll set it up. But I think this boils down to this fact. You are always the first responder to your personal emergency, whether the emergency is medical, whether it's something else, whether it's criminal and you need to defend yourself. Nobody's going to get there before you, and nobody's coming to save you in a relevant time.
Yes, a lot of people have learned that the hard way. A lot of people learned that the hard way.
And you need the knowledge, the skills, the mindset, most importantly, the mindset and the tools to effectively respond to that emergency. And folks, I think that's a beautiful message for it. If you like what I do, if you want to donate money to Piratas, you can get us on the Snap Scan. This is the e-begging I promised earlier. There you go. You can pause it. Give me the Snap Scan. If you're not a Snap Scanner, if you're a pleb and you only do Zapper, you can also do that one. Always appreciate it. It helps me keep the stream going and pay my internet fees and all that sort of stuff. And I'll probably speak to you again tomorrow night for an hour or so. Who knows? It'll be fun. Let me know. Like, send me a comment. 3D printing. Ooh, I'm actually going to have a podcast with a 3D printing sort of guru from the US. We're busy setting that up in the background. Watch the space. I'll post the links, because that's going to be a very, very, very interesting discussion about the realities of it. Obviously, 3D printing guns in South Africa is completely illegal. 3D printing guns in America, they all do it. So, and I think it has already killed gun control. On that bombshell, folks, Ari, thank you so much for taking time out of your Friday night to be here.
No, it was a pleasure. A nice de-stress.
Exactly. You're de-stressing. I'm stressing because I can hear them breaking things. Yes, Francois, see you tomorrow night. On that bombshell, love you all long time. Stay safe. Keep the guns lubed and the whiskey room temperature. Cheers and bye-bye.